chance to honor our teachers, our educators, and those who serve on our campuses. One of the things that our educators do is lead our students to a whole different level. As a matter of fact, I hear about our alumni. We're about to graduate some students, but our alumni come back and tell me all the time they're a year or two ahead of their peers when they go off to college or their next step. And so one of the things that we do is a capstone event here at the end of our senior year. And I've got two incredible seniors with me today. Introduce yourselves.
My name's Brady Palmer.
I'm Emmy Sigona.
And I bet you can't guess where they're going to school. They're wearing and proudly representing today, but these two did a great job of presenting to our staff about what the capstone is and what they did for their capstone. And so I'm going to ask them a little bit about what the capstone is, because you may not know what that is. It's really one of those things that we end up preparing for throughout the entire time a student is here at PCA. As a matter of fact, we have kids be prepared to be able to speak in front of a group, to be able to be confident, even if that's not their strength. You know, one of the biggest fears that people have is speaking in front of a group. And so even though it means we may get a little nervous, they're actually prepared for it. And these two did amazing yesterday. They did amazing on their capstone. So I'm gonna ask Brady first, talk a little about your capstone and really the experience with it.
Okay, so I chose the book A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry, and that was a really good book looking at the racial discrimination and social injustice in the 1950s. And so I got to use that book in the literary work in that book to write a historical essay, a philosophical essay, and a literary essay. And so all three of those, you kind of just write an essay over the book looking through three different lenses, and then we finally wrapped it up with the synthesis essay. So we looked through a portrait of graduate lens, and so I chose humility and had to write a synthesis over all three of those different capstones looking through the lens of humility.
Wow, that's incredible. So Emmy, tell me a little bit about, you did a book as well. Tell us what book you did.
William Golding's Lord of the Flies, and that book is kind of disturbing. So it's kind of, I didn't want the room to be like awkward when I talked about it, because it's like, you know, a hard topic to talk about. So I try to make it a light conversation and talk about how, yes, we are evil naturally, but at the end of the day, when we have a hope in Christ, that He's our hope, and death and destruction will be conquered.
It's not just about having an English composition or writing the essay or even presenting in front of a committee. You know, you have a committee of adults that's kind of analyzing and almost judging you at the end here, and it's really part of our graduation piece, but you had to integrate a lot of biblical worldview towards that.
I talked a lot about in the Bible how it talks about looking at others more significantly in yourself, like Philippians says. And because in my book, the two characters receive a check for $10,000, and both of them want to do what they want to do with that check to benefit themselves, and that's putting themselves over the family's needs. And so looking at it through a biblical perspective really changes the way you read that story, because it's not just them trying to pick what they want to do with the money, but it's way deeper in putting themselves over the family, and that ultimately destroys the loyalty.
I talked about little boys, and they go on the island basically, and they pursue their own desires, and it leads them to killing each other, and they're both power hungry. And I talked about how we can't pursue our own desires, because at the end of the day, we want what we want to do, and it leads to destruction, like I said. And so I think when you just surrender to God and to His authority, and we straighten our minds, like Paul says in Corinthians to do, that it's a relief kind of, and we don't have to, we live in a dark world, and when you do that, it's our hope. And when you put hope in something, it's just so much more relaxing, I think. And so I talked about how giving it to God.
I wanted to highlight just what that capstone is all about, how it's really one of those things that we start leading up to, because as you guys kind of grew up here at PCA, you started presenting early on in your career, and so having a chance to do that, so it's not the very first time when you go off to college you have to take a speech class or have a chance to present. As a matter of fact, I hear speech professors all the time. I'm a former speech teacher, but I hear speech professors talk all the time. What is Prestonwood doing? Because they're preparing kids in a way that they get up in front of a group and they present so well, and they're so eloquent about the way they do it. And so these two were great models, great examples. I'm so proud of you all, and you just got a few days left before you graduate.
Yes, sir.
But it's really about being able to present Christ. And I love how they both put that Christ, really seeing it from a lens of Christ in every way, having our biblical worldview. That's what's important for us, for them to understand that they need to love Jesus and who Jesus is in their own hearts, but be able to share who Christ is with others. That's what our mission is. That's what we're aiming for here at graduations. We have the full graduate profile. We're excited about what God has in the remaining days here of school. We hope you guys don't have senioritis too bad, but we hope you finish strong. And we love you so much, and we're so thankful you're a part of PCA.